Hi, I'm Laura Flanders. The South Bronx is sometimes associated with high unemployment, high poverty, and pollution. But it's also home to some of New York City's most creative organizing and business models, including Cooperative Home Care Associates, one of the country's biggest and oldest worker-owned cooperatives. Councilmember Maria Arroyo represents that area, and upon becoming chair of the Community Development Committee this January, she decided to convene a hearing on what the New York City Council could do to help co-ops thrive and why they should do it. The hearing happened late February. You can check out Grit TV's report on Storify. Right now, it's my great honor to welcome the council member to Grit TV. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it was really an exciting occasion. Some people said it was historic because something like this has never happened before. Here's a clip of you introducing the hearing at the City Council last month. People were thrilled. Here's a clip.
I'm excited to share this committee and about the opportunity that we have as committee members to bring to light the circumstances, the challenges, and opportunities relative to the almost 2 million New Yorkers who live in poverty in our city. Today, the committee will hear testimony from the administration, business owners, employees, researchers, and advocates concerning worker cooperatives. This model, worker cooperatives, are businesses that are owned and managed democratically by employees. Some believe this business model may be an effective vehicle by which many unemployed, particularly in communities with long-standing unemployment and high poverty levels, may find new opportunities for employment and ultimately escape poverty.
So there you are. You're saying you believe the co-ops can be a model, encouraging the City Council to at least think about co-ops. Mm-hmm. What did you hear in terms of what the council and you need to actually think about concretely to make life easier for cooperatives in New York?
We believed that, well, I believed in consultation with the committee staff who have been doing this work a lot longer than I have. And they're really the ones behind the scenes that do the research and point the chair in the direction and shape the conversation that we should be having publicly. That I think worker cooperatives might give us an opportunity to deal with the issue of unemployment, underemployment, and equality. We need to have a public discourse and have a conversation to hear opinions. And that is what City Council hearings allow us to do, is to hear from the public, the administration, the agencies that would be responsible for handling the process, to tell us whether we're nuts, don't do this, or recommend not to consider it, or get positive feedback and help shape the conversation moving forward.
So what did you get?
It was unanimous, both from the administration standpoint. We heard from the Economic Development Corporation. We heard from the Small Business Services Agency of the city. Both representatives were optimistic and positive about the possibilities that worker cooperatives can create vis-a-vis government and how we can help to move a conversation along to create more worker cooperatives. Every member of the public that testified, and I think we had about 45 people, give or take, to give public testimony. Everyone that provided testimony said to us, absolutely, this is a good idea, thank you for holding the hearing, and gave us some thoughts about the nuances that we need to tweak to move an initiative forward that can help support and create and strengthen worker cooperatives.
All right, so let's talk about some of the nuts and bolts of what you heard in terms of things that you can put into action, because sometimes community organizations and grassroots groups were not always the best at understanding how policy gets made and works. But what did you hear that you can actually implement that's actionable?
Well, there are several. There are some policy issues that have to be dealt with, maybe legislation that has to be introduced so that we can amend administrative codes in the city, and some funding that has to be identified to support. Policy around how the city contracts, the rules that the city has in place for contracting with vendors for services that the city pays for and has to buy. and how worker cooperatives are not necessarily on a category of businesses that can do that successfully without tripping up on some regulation that they are not able to meet, so that if they're not 51% owner of the business, well, then the contract with the city might not be possible because there's this rule that requires that. By definition, worker cooperatives will never meet that.
And that came up a lot, how hard it is for worker-owned cooperatives to get credit
Same
in the
issue
city.
with financial institutions, the percentage of ownership required in order for a loan application to be successful with a financing institution, the same problem arises.
You have to have a 51% owner make that application.
Yes, and we in the city can create some opportunities for microloans to be possible. We need to have the right kind of entity, serve as the pass-through for the funding. It is important for us to identify a funding stream that can help worker cooperatives tap into financing that will enable them to acquire whatever it is that they need, be it equipment, space, training for employees. And it takes all of those things to create a positive and successful worker cooperative.
Now, the cooperatives that we see most successful in New York right now are service co-ops. We talked about cooperative health care, there's home care, there's child care, all sorts of service. What about industrial co-ops? What about manufacturing and co-ops that could really come to scale and make a difference in a whole community's economy?
I think it's all possible. We need to get the information out. One of the things that we got at the hearing is that there is not enough information in the public about the worker cooperative being an alternative for business as a business model, and that we in the city must be doing more outreach, public information and education to put the information out there and let the energy create the possibility for people. One of the suggestions is you have to get the information out into the public. That was one of the messages that we heard loud and clear at the hearing.
So we're doing your job for you. Yes,
you are. You're indeed helping. And I think, as we move forward, there's a lot of work that we need to do. I've had conversations already with colleagues, the chair of the Small Business Services Committee, the chair of the Contracts Committee. The Contracts Committee looks at how the city handles contracts for services, so that we can begin with our staff doing the research so we can identify where along the way, whether it's legislative policy or budget, where we can introduce initiatives and language that can reduce the burden on being eligible for city contracts to begin with. And that is a meeting that we're going to have in the coming weeks. And at the end of the day, talk is cheap. We need to work to make sure that we put this opportunity out in the community and empower the local community residents who have an idea about a business but may not have the wherewithal to be able to put it together, that we also provide the assistance, technical assistance, to ensure that they have all the bases covered.
I know Richmond, California has a mayor, Gail McLaughlin, who's actually not only put city money into worker co-ops but hired a professional co-op developer to work with cooperatives in her area. I just came back from Jackson, Mississippi, where the very much mourned Chokwe Lumumba, the mayor, had dedicated his administration to using public works to re-stimulate the economy, in part working with contractors who were worker-owned co-ops. New York City has a budget bigger than Switzerland. You could really be a trendsetter for the country.
We believe we are on the right track. And I think the energy that came out of the conversation at the hearing has pushed us forward. And we're at the point where how do we create this and make the best opportunity possible? We're shaping that. And I believe that if we come back in June and have a conversation, we will have more details in place and probably already some things at work to bring more opportunity for worker cooperatives.
And in June, will we know that the budget has included some money for worker
That is
co-ops?
my hope. That is my hope. The question is, how do we do that? How do we shape it? What will it look like? What it will entail? Those are the details that we will work out between now and June.
Why now, and about the potential of now? I mean, you've come into this new position. You've been serving in the council, but you've come into this new position with a new mayor, a new administration, a new city leadership that is quite different from the old one. I think even in terms of how it defines community development. Am I wrong?
I think we're in a good place. There are no coincidences, and I am happy to be in the position that I'm in, to be involved in the middle of this conversation. I am grateful for smarter people than I around the issue of worker cooperatives, and we're going to rely on the experts in the field to help us shape policy, legislation, and budget initiatives moving forward. So when I ended the hearing, I warned everyone in the public, this is not over. This is a conversation that's just starting, and we need your assistance and your guidance on how we shape this moving forward. And I got an enthusiastic, absolutely yes, give us a call. We will be more than happy to assist.
Councilmember Arroyo, thank you so much for joining us. We will be right there following your every move.
Thank you for having me, and I'm really excited about this opportunity.
Thank you.